It's so interesting to take a look at the listings from around Western New York, especially because we all know that today is the first day of spring. And so for the next 3 months, we get to experience our spring market. And so all of these new listings coming in during the spring market is so great for all of our buyers who have been waiting for the spring market, who have been sitting back. And while the weather hasn't been great, I guess this next week in Buffalo and in Rochester, it's supposed to be, in the 40s. I'm curious to know how our open houses have been doing. So if you get a minute to comment in the chat and let us know if you've had an open house on the last couple of weeks, how that open's going. So we can share that with everybody else on the call. So again, welcome to Live from Western New York. We have our leadership team here with us today. And we have, of course, Matthew and Lou and Kathy and Ken from First Priority Mortgage. And today we have a special guest being Duffy Hanna. So we're excited to have Duffy on the call so he can share with us everything that's happening out there in the mortgage world and maybe some insights on financing. So welcome to you, Duffy, and happy birthday, Chuck. I mean, that is absolutely a great background that you have, as some of us are still celebrating St. Patrick's Day. And I have this lovely shamrock, 4-leaf clover, well, 6-leaf clover shamrock behind me, wishing you all good luck during this spring market. But as you know, it takes a lot more than luck. It takes, a lot of hard work, persistence, and a commitment to doing your best each and every day. So let's move on and welcome our new agents who we do wish the best of luck to. Andrea, Carla, Kristen, and Cindy, all experienced agents joining us from other companies. And again, Chelsea, Kara, Everett, Madhav, and Nicole. Welcome to all of you and best of luck with your real estate career. Thank you so much. As you know, every week we have an office spotlight, and this week we have Amy Ruth, who's been so kind to be our producer the last 2 weeks while Lisa was away. So thank you, Amy, for that. You did a great job. But Amy's going to share a little bit about the West Seneca area. Good morning, Amy. How are you today?
Good morning, Charlene. How are you? I'm well.
Great. Great.
Yep. We are here in front of Mayer Brothers Cider because the West Seneca office, located at 174 Slade Avenue, which is right off the 90, and the 219 as well, which is kind of a welcome to the South Towns. The Mayer Brothers Cider is kind of iconic in West Seneca. I actually took a poll in West Seneca office with the agents and said, where should I actually record from? And they said, of course, Mayer Brothers Cider, because Mayer Brothers is kind of the opening to the fall, and everybody gets their cider from here, their donuts, pies. There's usually, a line a mile long if it wasn't the middle of winter. Everybody loves this place. So West Seneca is home to the Birchfield Penny Art Institute, as well as some wonderful restaurants, the newest being the Ridge Brewery. And West Seneca office also encompasses the markets of South Buffalo as well as Lackawanna. Lackawanna is home to Our Lady of Victory Basilica, as well as the Botanical Gardens. And South Buffalo is known for Casanova Park. And many of you, as well as Matthew Whitehead, can be spotted at Dog Ears, getting a cup of tea or coffee. I know that is a beloved spot for many of you. Our market is a very reasonable market, and the sales price, average sales price and list price is about $240, $250. And it is a great place to make home. Our town hall even has like a spot coffee in it. It's just a great town. West Seneca is. It's a wonderful place, a wonderful community. We're all headed. Our office is headed to our chamber's women in business community breakfast on April 26th. If any of you wanted to join us. And actually, Charlene, you asked about open houses. One of our agents just had an open house last weekend on Saturday and Sunday and had about 20 people through on each day. It was hustling and bustling. So people are looking to move to West Seneca for sure.
Great. Thank you, Amy.
Of course.
I love going to Mayor's Cider Mill. It is iconic for sure in Western New York.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing
sure.
that. How is it right now in your housing market?
Yeah, you know what? People are coming in, agents every day are coming in mentioning that they have multiple offers on all of their listings. So we are seeing people wanting to move into this market, and it mostly because it's a wonderful school district with affordable housing.
Great. Thank you so much. You all
Sure.
set?
Yep, all set.
Enjoy the day. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
So next we have our co-host for today is Matthew Whitehead. For those of you who are new to the call, every week we have one of our leadership, Lou, Kathy, or Matthew, share some words of wisdom and hopefully give you some inspiration for the week. So thank you, Matthew, for being on this morning, and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. I do have to give a shout out to Amy in the West Seneca office. That's my old branch that I managed. And I think one of the best things that ever came out of South Buffalo was my family. So I'm biased, but that's I got to say about that. So today, what I wanted to talk about, we keep talking about open houses. We're talking about buyers. A lot of buyers seem to get frustrated after they lose a couple multiple offers, or if we have to reset. And I think that I want to give a couple of thoughts, ideas, a couple strategies. Some of the things that I'm going to talk about are going to be kind of high level. I'm not going to go in depth. Your manager can talk to you at the sales meetings or kind of in one-on-ones in the office about some of the concepts and ideas that I'm going to share with you guys today. But one thing that I think is very important is that we do not treat buyers differently than sellers. So for example, if you sit down with a seller, a lot of times what we do is we future pace. If our strategy doesn't work, what we need to do is kind of sit back down. And let's say, for example, that we're going to list the property at 150, but we think that's a little husky. So we say we can try it for 2 weeks, and then we're going to come back and we're going to have to reduce it if we don't get the activity and the buyers coming through that we wanted to. So you future pace that you might have to do a reduction. Same thing with a buyer. If we go out and our strategy is not getting us the results that we want, we need to sit back down and re-strengthen our strategy, rethink it, maybe reapply it, that kind of thing. I think the very first thing, if I'm going to sit down with a buyer, the very first thing, part of my strategy is that my first priority mortgage consultant is going to reach out and talk to them. It's not that I'm going to ask them to call my consultant. My MC is going to call them because it's a service that I provide. So for example, if I'm going to pick on Lisa because I see her face. If Lisa's my client, I say, Lisa, one of the services that I provide is that my mortgage consultant's just going to give you a call. And she says, that's okay. I already own a bank. And I said, no problem. He's going to call you anyway. Because one of the things that's important is that we kind of do a situation analysis of where you're starting from and where we need to go. Now, what's great about them, everything's going to be confidential. I don't need to know those things. But what's great about it is we get to see where you start, where we can strengthen, how we can move forward, that kind of thing. So the whole point of that is that we're going to do a situation analysis, and it's a free service that I provide. So that's the very first thing. I think it's imperative that we start there. The second thing is, once I understand kind of where we're leaving from, then we start talking about what does that strategy look like. Let's say, for example, that they qualify for 250, up to 250. Let's say that that's their max. I don't say, let's go look at 250 houses. We start figuring out what is the price point that we need to be comfortable in to start looking. The other thing that we start looking and discussing, what are the current pricing strategies right now for listing? So for example, if I say there's 3 pricing strategies, you get low to get high, you go at the price, you go high to get low. So for example, what that means, let's say that I want 150. I'm the seller and I want 150 for the property. I say, I'm going to go low to get high. So I'm going to list it at 140, delay all showings, and then we're going to get a lot of momentum going, and then we're going to have multiple offers that pushes that price over that point. We've been seeing a lot of that in the last year and a half. And so it's important that you're sharing with the buyers what these strategies are in the marketplace so that you can be part of how do we combat it? How do we beat it? How do we go out there and do something a little bit different and a little bit more challenging? So again, I think it's important that you share that. Then the other thing is to share with them there's really only 5 components of a contract. So if you look at the 5 components of a contract, you have price, you have the terms of the contract, you have what's included and what's excluded from the contract, you have the time, and you have the contingencies. So for example, if you say, well, we can't play with price, we only have this window of price. Okay, well, what else can we play with? How else can we strengthen ourselves and strengthen our position? The other thing that I think is really, really important that we are not explaining well is what are contingencies. And there's a difference between the contingency and the consequence of that contingency. So in a lot of cases, we can remove consequences, but you may not want to remove the contingency itself. And an example of that would be a home inspection. So people say, well, we don't want people to waive their rights. We would never advise somebody waive their rights. However, what we would advise is that they could be strategic. So for example, if I say, I'm going to waive any consequence up to $5,000 or $10,000, depending on the price point of the house. So we're going to have our right, our legal right of inspection. But if there's anything below a total max amount of $10,000, we'll take care of it. But if it goes over that point, it really puts us out of the marketplace. It changes our price point. It changes our payment. It changes all these things. So start looking at, are there strategic ways that you can remove consequence, but not so much the actual contingency. One thing too is that what we're seeing, we were seeing appraisal gaps, people saying, oh, we'll cover the gap. Well, to what point? And why would people do that? So when you say, well, why do people get appraisals? What do appraisals do? Are you sitting in the position where you're consulting these clients to understand what these things are? So for example, if you say, well, the bank says it's not worth the risk, but we'll just say it's worth the risk. So for example, if you say, well, there's going to be no cap on the appraisal, guarantee or anything like that, you have to explain what these things are so that they can understand, what does that mean? Why would we not want to go with no cap on anything? Why would we want to potentially have an escalator? Why would we not want to have an escalator? What are these things? I think it's important that you explain to a buyer what these tools are before you go into the marketplace and get into a situation where you want to make an offer and then figure out all these tools. So I think that that's really important that we do that. I think that it's important to have a looking strategy. So for example, you can look online, you can look in person. We were talking about open houses. There's a strategy for going through open houses. Are you creating a strategy with how they're looking online and then how they're going in person? And are you involved in the online? Are you involved in person? Are you sending them to specific open houses with instructions? So on Sunday, you're going to go through this property. After that, you're going to call me. We're going to rally. We're going to talk about what we liked, what we didn't like, where you went through, etc. Are you invested, or are you just sending them out there like, hey, good luck. It's going to be fun out there. Because you also know what's happening in those open houses. So it's imperative that you start creating a plan. Here's my cards. Give them to them as soon as you walk in the open house. Then we're going to rally up. We're going to talk. Here's what I'm going to send you, and here's why I'm sending it to you, because I've done my job and believe that these things are good fits. So make sure that you have a plan and you have a strategy for looking. The other thing that's very important is determining the difference between what they want versus what they need. So for example, people buy what they want and then they justify it later. So for example, we buy emotionally and then justify with logic later. So every single person here has bought something and then explained, you justified to yourself, well, I needed to have that. I needed it because it would give me this. I needed to do this. So you buy emotionally and then justify it later logically. And so you say, well, what are the needs of this property? They're really going to justify their wants. So you have to understand that, but you have to differentiate those two. You need to understand there are emotional reasons to buy now, but there are logical reasons that would prevent them from buying now. So those two things are very important. As I said before, people buy emotionally and then they justify later logically, but there are reasons, logic's going to come into their mind where they say, I don't know if I could, I don't know about that payment. We are here, we should do this. This justification process when they're buying, they're going to get stuck and the emotion and logic is going to start to sway them. So you need to start to figure out, how would I understand and shift them to that point? So like if you're going to buy anything, there's 4 phases that you go through. There's curiosity, interest, desire, and then commitment. That interest and desire phase is where they start justifying and start saying, maybe we shouldn't, maybe I'm scared, maybe this makes sense, that kind of thing. That's where you want to start to have a plan because you know that they're going to go through it. We used to have this graph of this emotional roller coaster that the buyers and sellers are going to go through. Same thing when you're talking to the buyer. they're going to go through this. They see a house, they don't like it. Then they see one, they fall in love with it. Then there's another offer. Then they missed it. Then they're going to go through. They're going to write an offer. It's just very complicated. Then they provide the offer. Then they got to wait. So they're up and down emotional. Do they like it? Do they not like it? Then it finally gets accepted. Okay, now we're going to go through it and inspect it. Holy crap, what if something's wrong with it? Oh my God, we saw that the outlet's shaky. Oh my, so they're going like this consistently. And we have to make sure that we have a plan to guide them and consult them and make sure that we're with them the whole step of the way. Expand what things mean to them. So for example, when they say, you know, we need 5 bedrooms, explain that to me. Well, share more about that. What does that mean? Why do you need 5 bedrooms? So they might say, well, I need privacy. I could show you privacy in a corner. It's a matter of what do these things mean to you? And are we really understanding what they mean to the person that we're speaking to? Or are we trying to justify what we think that these things mean? So I think that that's important. I think one of the things that's interesting is that in the marketplace right now with constricted inventory, I would start looking at square footage potential. So for example, if I'm looking at a property, I'm looking at square footage and the potential of that expansion of square footage or the lot. So that if I say, well, I want these things on the house, let's say it's a deck, but I see a house that has everything that I want, but it doesn't have the deck, but it's got the space to do the deck. Maybe that's a good investment for later because I might want to add that. I might want to put that as something that I'm going to do 3-4 years out and it's going to increase the house. Or I'm finding the house for lower cost that has all this stuff. And if I'm able to add that deck, I'm at the place that I wanted to be at anyway. So these are things that I think it's worth the conversation. There's that concept of the 85% house. So if you find a house with 85% of what you're looking for, most likely that's 100% of what you're looking for. And we say that because everybody, they buy a house and then they say, well, we're going to paint this, we're going to add this, we're going to add a closet, we're going to do this. You go back 5 years later, they haven't done anything. And you're like, well, I thought you were going to do all this stuff. Say, yeah, we just haven't gotten to it yet, or we didn't justify it. So again, when you find an 85% house, that's a good house. One thing that's a good exercise quickly is that if you have 2 partners that are buying a house together and you seem to kind of have where they can't find something that makes sense, sit them in the office and do the kind of split piece of paper. So I take 2 pieces of paper and I rip a piece of paper in half. I give one to one spouse. And so I got Lisa and Charlene are the top 2. So Lisa and Charlene are buying a house together. And I'll say, Charlene, Lisa, here's the deal. Here's the game. I want you to write the 3 things that are must-haves for you in this house. You're not allowed to speak to each other. I don't even want you to look at each other. Charlene, I want you to write the 3 things that are most important to you. And Lisa, I want you to write the 3 things that are most important to you. And then just slide them back to me. So then what happens is something like this, where I get one where it's a finished basement or a man cave. I got a large yard and a master suite. The other one gives me this, where it's a large kitchen, a fenced yard, and a pool. So what happens is you got 2 people that want to buy the same thing and they're motivated by 2 completely different things. So then I need to start to understand. So if I have this one where it says large kitchen, and let's say that Lisa gave it to me, I said, Lisa, explain, what's a large kitchen mean? So start explaining to me. What's going to happen is she's going to start painting a picture of what that looks like in her mind. It's going to help you as the agent understand their needs and their goals. It's kind of like in-person Real Scout concept where you're sitting and understanding really what these things mean, what drives them, what's motivating to them, and why that makes any sense. So I think that's a cool little trick. Another thing, look under the bridge. We still price houses like sweaters. So, you know, the Kmart special, the $149.99 house, people in search criteria, it's 150 to 200. So those 149.9s are being missed in the search criteria. You're going to find about 28% of new opportunities by looking under the bridge. The other thing that real estate agents do is part of their marketing strategy. Let's say that the house is at, you know, I'm at 74. So they could say, well, we're going to list the property for 299,744 or something like that, where they'll add the house number into the address, or they use the address to put it into the price. So if people are being cutesy with the prices, that's not how search criteria works. So make sure that when you're looking for properties for people, you're looking under that bridge, it's called, to give more opportunities and expand those opportunities. One thing when you're going to be in multiple offer situation as the buyer's agent, please call the listing agent and ask them, other than price, is there anything else that's important to your sellers? You will be amazed at how many people tell you what the actual seller wants and what's important to them. So it gives you a better opportunity. And the last thing that I'm going to say is, you know, for example, don't just assume, like, for example, I have buyers that say, well, we're going to pay cash. Great. Again, you're still going to talk to first priority, and here's why. you'd like to use cash. Would you like to use cash and use all your cash, or do you want to use cash and keep most of your cash? Great. We have a great opportunity for you. So my MC is going to call you. Like, we have all these great tools and resources that are going to help our buyers be stronger to perform out there. And it's our responsibility to give them the opportunity and give them the conversation. And so with that, I'm going to flip it over to our fearless leaders of Ken and Duffy to talk about first priority and some of those cool tricks and tools and all that stuff, and pass it off to you boys.
Thank you, Matt. I'm gonna have Duffy talk, but Matt, I think Kmart is out of business, so you may want to start using Target or something for the comparison.
There's a point to that, Ken. There's a point to that.
I know.
Hey, it goes together.
All right, so I'd love to introduce Duffy Hanna, the president of Howard Hanna Financial Services.
Thanks, everybody. It's a pleasure to be on here. Matt, great presentation. I enjoyed that. I had a meeting with Ken today, and he surprised this on me and said, "You want to be part of the what we call it, Good Morning Western New York." It's like being on the Today Show. This is great. So thank you for having me. I know Ken has a nice presentation he wants to give to everyone, so I'll just be high level. Going around the different markets that we're in, I'm seeing the same thing as I'm seeing on the chat as people are posting. We have a ton of buyers out there. Open houses are crazy busy. So it's wonderful. I keep telling everyone that right now, going into the spring of 2023 is the best time to be in the real estate business. It truly is. We have inventories going up. Even if you look around in all the markets, inventory it's going up slightly. I'm not going to say we're where we need to be, but it's going up ever so slightly. Interest rates are coming down, which Ken will talk about. We have a ton of qualified buyers out there. Buyers who have been, there's a lot of pent up demand, so they're excited to buy. So a lot of the real estate agents and mortgage loan officers that were in the business a year ago aren't in the business anymore, rightly so. So there's more opportunity for each of us. So I am super excited about the business, and as I hear the news and hear people talk about things, and they're always 4 weeks behind what is current. This is a wonderful time. Today's the first day of spring. It's a beautiful day here in Buffalo. I was wearing my sunglasses for the entire drive up yesterday from Pittsburgh to Buffalo. So I know spring is here, and it's an exciting time. We haven't had a spring market in a couple of years. So those of us who have been in this for more than 2 or 3 years, we know what a spring market looks like, and I feel it. It's coming. So be ready. And it's those people who are working right now, who have been working the past 6-8 weeks, working with their buyers, working with potential sellers, who are going to benefit the greatest. So keep it up, keep up the good work, and I'll pass it on to Ken.
Thank you, Duffy. I wanted to just cover a lot of things happened within the last week with SVB Bank. Okay. And everybody's like, "Whoa, what does that mean to us? And how's that affecting everything?" And in the beginning, we're just extrapolating like what really happened. And I wanted to give you in the most rudimentary form of this is one of the things that SVB Bank did. Now, SVB, Silicon Valley Bank, their average depositor had $4 million as an average on their accounts. They serve startups that had no sales, no profit. They couldn't get lines of credit from other banks. They were in Silicon Valley. So what they did, and what banks can do, they can put cash into investments and choose to put them into long-term treasury bonds. Okay. And an example of how that works and how rates can rise, it can hurt the investments if you're a bank. So on the next slide, I want to just give you an example, and this could be pretty accurate. They did buy a tremendous amount of treasuries at 2%. Okay. So when you buy a treasury at 2%, you're going to get 2% interest. It's coming to your bank. You've just earned $400,000 a year in interest. That's a safe investment, prudent investment. Awesome. Great job. And you invest $20 billion. Okay. The price of that unit is $1,000. All right. So now let's say you need the money prior to the maturity of the note due to too many loans not performing, startups failing. So on the next slide, now the bank needs money. Interest rates are at 4%. So instead of that bond being 1,000, it's now $833 per unit. So the value is 16.6 billion. And people say, well, what'd the value go down for? When rates go up, values go down. When rates go down, values go up. So now you need that $20 million and you have to sell it and you lose 3.3 billion. That's a lot of money. And SVB put out a letter several weeks prior saying we sold investments and we lost $2 billion. So why did the bank not, why didn't anybody see that? When you invest in treasuries, they are put into a held to maturity account. And that account does not reflect losses on your balance sheet. So when capital gains and losses occur is when you sell. So when they sold, this is what happened. They report we lost $2 billion. Depositors start calling each other and say, hey, what's going on? If they held this account for 10 years, they would have got their $20 billion back. So that's in its simplest form, banks are allowed to do that. So what has that done? It's caused a ripple effect in our economy. You know, now we look at Signature Bank, now we look at Credit Suisse is having issues, and it will create a ripple, and regulators will start looking at large institutional banks. Community banks are much different and regulated differently. So what this has done, this has almost been like an interest rate cut for us because the investors have gone to a flight to quality with buying bonds. And when they buy bonds, the rates have decreased. So there's a big Fed meeting this Wednesday. And if the Fed raises rates, we could see treasuries still gain with rates going down, people still buying them because it's a flight to safety. So whenever there's anything in the financial markets that are jittery, people go and start buying bonds, which lowers rates. And now back on the table is that the Fed may cut rates this year. 3 weeks ago, it was a 0% chance. Inflation is coming down. Different events, different market indices that come out, which is inflation friendly, is going to be a benefit to us. We are seeing a tremendous amount of pre-quals in March. Just like Duffy said, we're seeing a tremendous amount of activity. So what this means to you, when there is uncertainty in the financial markets, it benefits us on interest rates. We don't want to have a benefit of competition having issues, but it does benefit us in the marketplace. So that is positive, that should be shared, that the bottom line, we're going to have a much better payment than we had 6 months ago, 7 months ago. So thank you all. Appreciate your attendance, and any questions, please reach out.
Thank you so much, Ken. Thanks, Duffy. That was, it was great to see you. Thanks for joining us this morning. And Matthew Whitehead, wow, a lot of great information. You just sped through that very quickly. So for anyone who's interested in going back and listening, watching both Matthew's presentation and Ken's, as you know, we do have a YouTube channel devoted to that. Just wanted to also take a moment to remind everyone that our new Hannah Luxury magazine will be coming out, and the deadline to submit is Friday, March 31st. If you have a listing over 750,000, please, if you're unsure as to how to do that, or if you're not a part of the program, please speak with your office manager to guide you and help you through that process. It's a fabulous magazine. So I encourage you to be a part of it, especially for your seller clients who have homes that are considered luxury homes. And also just a quick reminder as well that we have a lot of great training going on, of course, but most importantly, Matthew talked about a lot of skills when you sit with buyers, a lot of skill sets that we're all promoting right now in the market, because this is the year to kick up your education, your knowledge. Our buyers and our sellers are looking for agents who really have excellent negotiating skills. Number one on the buyer and seller survey that NAR does each year is an agent who has strong negotiating skills. And so take a look at the Buffini program, the Pathway to Mastery, Become the Best of the Best. This is a program that's launching very, very soon, next week in Buffalo and a couple weeks in the Rochester area. So please take a peek at it, or call or contact Nan or Maggie to discuss it, because it really will help you to build your skill set in real estate right now when you need it the most. And then, of course, last but not least, we want to say again, thank you to all of you for joining us, to our speakers, to our leadership team. I don't know if Matthew or Kathy or Lou have anything to close with, but I just wanted to say that I think that Lisa should win the background contest for St. Patty's Day, which is long gone, but many still celebrating. But I do think that, Lisa, you did a great job. So thanks for that. And leadership team, anything you want to add? Kathy, Lou, Matthew?
Have a great week, everybody. Go out there and get them.
Yeah, I just want to say to Matthew's point, don't give up on your buyers. I mean, we still need them. So get them qualified and, you know, find them a home. It's definitely starting to loosen up out there. There's more and more inventory coming. So don't give up on your buyers.
Great. And enjoy the spring market.
Yep.
Take care, everyone.
All right. Have a
Bye,
good
guys.
week.
Bye, everyone.
Good luck.